Like the tent ruffling sounded like maybe a lunatic clown pulling his nylon bell bottoms down to get ready to rape me. That's where I was at. That's where I was at.
Join us for the ride of a lifetime.
Let's watch an idiot try to ride a motorcycle. Some guy rides.
Morning, dudes. That was what I'd call an interesting night. And I'll tell you all about that, but we have one problem to overcome first. I heard a diesel truck pull up to that gate. And I don't know why, but my first thought is, oh my God, they put a chain on it and locked it. Today was the day they decided to lock the gate. And I'm very much hoping that that's not the case. Thank you. That's good news. That was stressing me out. I mean, it's such a stupid thing to think, but we'll never know if I was supposed to be here or not. And I'm fine with that. Woo, dudes, what a weird night. First of all, the rain. And then the rain went away, and I'm like, oh, thank God. But the thunder and lightning stayed, and every time the lightning, it wasn't very close, but it just lit it up like it was daytime. I mean, pretty crazy. So anyway, I did all my stuff, and then I was just chilling. And then at 10 o'clock, like I had kind of just fallen asleep, and at 10 o'clock I heard this just insane rain noise on the tent, thunder, lightning, and then the wind picked up. I mean, it was just ripping my tent. Everything was flapping, and I was just starting to get kind of like horror movie campsite freaked out. And like the tent ruffling sounded like someone moving it is coming to kill me. Sounded like maybe a lunatic clown pulling his nylon bell bottoms down to get ready to rape me. That's where I was at. That's where I was at. Oh my God. And then these mosquitoes, a couple of moths too, but it was mostly mosquitoes. And they had these huge wings, and they were getting in between the tent and the rainfly and flapping their wings. And I swear to God, it sounded like a pelican trying to escape a garbage bag. It was frightening. I mean, it was really frightening until I figured out that it was just a mosquito. And there were a few of them. But before that, I'm like, what the hell is that? Oh, dudes. So the rain went for hours, and it like would come and go, and then the rain would wake me up, and I would say it wasn't a restful sleep. I was up at 5. Luckily the rain was gone. Hopefully the rain didn't make the trails muddy, because that's a thing I do not want to deal with. I mean, the ground wasn't muddy at my campsite, so hopefully. It's quite cold right now, and I don't have any layers on because I'm stupid. Feels kind of good. It's waking me up. Anyway, had a couple of swigs of Richard's bourbon. I can't believe how long I've had that. I'm just like sipping. But I only use it on moto camp nights, and there have been precious few of those lately. Anyway, I kind of got my charging rigged. The problem is, like, the whole reason I put that Thunderbox in is because I don't want to be bothered with having to remember to unplug every time I stop the bike so I don't drain the battery. And that thing solves that. It's an amazing little piece of kit. You should look into it. So that is kind of a bummer. Yes, it is kind of a bummer. Oh, the store's closed. Somebody was kind of hoping for a coffee at the store. I guess it's early as hell. I had some garbage to dump too. It's hanging off the back. That blue dry bag, it's not really like a thick dry bag. It's just it's a bag that holds water, or it pretty much holds water. I think it's it came with one of the Moscow Moto things, and it is great for buying beer or whatever at the store. Hi, Bunny. And you can even, like, at the not last night, they didn't have any beer, but one of the nights I got beer, and I asked them if I could use the ice dispenser, and they said yes. So I put some ice in there, and that was great. And I just clip it to the back, and so it's good for garbage too, like that. Just clip it to the back and dump it when I get somewhere, and then I can throw the bag into the beaver tail. Pretty good, right? And I wish I could find some garbage before I get into it. So yeah, not a lot of sleep last night. And and then, there was the dead cow, who I named Mr. Deddy. Pretty good original name for a dead cow. So I set up camp as far away from that thing as possible, just in case he came to life and wanted revenge. But the wind changed, and Mr. Deddy was not smelling so great. So, oh man, I always forget to start recording my track, and that's something that I want to do. So anyway, that was another situation because it was gross. It was gross, dudes. I wasn't into it. So that was my night. I mean, camping, it's just just kind of a pain in the ass. If it wasn't for the footage and the ride report that I like to write, it wouldn't be bad at all. But that stuff really, I mean, it just is very, very difficult. Some camp spots up here. I did find out, I didn't know this, maybe you guys did, but I was able to charge a little bit the laptop just from the, what am I trying to say? I've got a 20,000 amp, milliamp, whatever, I never know what that is, but it's a 20,000 battery brick, and it charged it about 50%. Oh, we're just getting right back into it. I'm not going to get any garbage time, which kind of sucks. But it drained that battery to zero, charging the stuff that I needed to charge. The only things I really have to charge are this, which I forgot to turn on and clip to my jacket. I need to stop and do that. God, I waste more time than almost there is. You know? And why isn't tracking the thing you need this for at the top of the menu? Let me ask you that. I mean, that wasted at least 3 milliseconds of time scrolling through the menu. Okay, is there anything else I need to do while I'm stopped for the billionth time already? No. Now I forget what I was even talking about. Charging the laptop. Oh yeah, the things I really need to charge are the inReach and the laptop needs to be charged. Had I known, I wouldn't have brought. I have a little tiny converter that I can actually plug the 110 from the laptop into and charge off the bike. But now that all my electrical is messed up, that's not going to work. So it's good that I can charge the laptop, because that was the main reason I would that camping wouldn't work, because I have to have that for the footage and stuff. Unfortunately, I need to find just a cheap, maybe a Chromebook or something, just something that will run what I need. That's even smaller than a Mac Air. That's my wife's Mac Air. We always trade, and she hates my big, massive MacBook. But those are the only two things. That and the battery brick I use for this helmet camera needs to be charged, but I have an extra one of those in here charging, so as long as this is working, I'm good. The other thing is the drone batteries. They're just, I can put them in this bag to charge if I have to. It's just such a big unit. It's kind of a pain. So we'll see how long it takes the battery brick to charge back up to 100. If it charges back up to 100 in a day, then I should be okay. I used about half of the battery life of the laptop last night, and maybe it only charged at 30%. I think it was at about 80. Charged back up to 80 from 50. So there you go. And what time am I getting going? Time of day, 6:33. I think that's the earliest I've been on the road. Sleeping next to a dead cow will do that for you. It's a real motivator to get your day going. All right, we're on section 2 of the new Mexico BDR, and I'm headed to Carrizo. headed to a town that starts with a C. Johnny Powell he mentioned like several times, dude, you got to go to Cloudcraft and stay at Dusty Boots Motel. And I should have done that whenever that was, instead of going to Ruidoso. Although Ruidoso is really cool little town, I didn't take much advantage of it. I just hung out at the Budget Lodge. I walked around a minute, but really cool little town. But I think Cloudcroft is probably as cool or cooler, and he said that motel is really cool. So, and I'll be heading through Cloudcroft this morning sometime, so I won't have the opportunity to stay there. And I don't think there's any motels in Corazizo, so it'll probably be camping tonight unless something weird happens. And then I think it's camping the next night. And then I think I had planned always to have a motel the next night, which by then I will need. So I forgot to read about today's route. I had copy and pasted the like little descriptions of each section from the BDR website to some notes in my phone. And I also have like the vague daily plan in there. Oh. But if I only do one section today, I want to say it's 175 miles. So I don't think there's any reason to rush, really. I mean, that's like a 7-hour day or something. If you average 25 miles an hour, which on these trips seems to be about right. That's what I'm going right now. Yesterday was great. Yeah, that Guadalupe Rim is a pretty crazy feature, I would say. It's nuts. I wonder what caused that or whatever. Itchy Boots would know. She would be telling you all about that right now. Alright, I hope I go through somewhere that has some freaking coffee. I'm really rethinking my whole camp kit food situation, because that little burrito yesterday, it did me right. I mean, that's all I needed. And that was like at 11. I wasn't hungry at all last night. And it's also just like another thing to do, which when you get to camp, you're just, I don't know, I just don't want to do anything because I have other things to do. So I don't know. Johnny Powell on his last trips hasn't taken his cook kit, I don't think. On the Tat, I used to love to get up and make coffee, and I usually had time because Johnny Powell slept a little later than me most mornings. So I'd get up and pack up, and then while he was packing up, I made coffee, hung out. And I do love that. Like, I love having a cup of camp coffee in the morning from the AeroPress, the best way to make coffee that there is. But, I don't know. Look at those guys. I saw some of their unfortunate brethren last night. What's up with that, man? Some people, like, butchered elks down that trail. I mean, it was like legs cut off, and oh man, pretty gross. Those were elks, right? Were they elks? I don't know. I know I've said this before, but I so wish I was that guy who could, like, tell you what all these trees are. I'm sure it's not that difficult. And plants, and like stars and animals. I'd like to know all that stuff. But a nice camp spot right there. I bet somebody could make money going on the BDR routes and then just putting waypoints for every primitive camp spot they find, or you know, or regular campsite. Sometimes they don't show up. I'd pay some money for that. I don't know, does that take the adventure out of it a little bit? Maybe, but that would sure be handy, because that's something that I hate dealing with. And for some reason, I never ever pass a campsite like that at the right time. Oh, it's cold, dudes. I should put something on. I really should. Dudes, have I got a spot for you? Just head back to Weed when you're done there. There's another one. Is this going to be one of those things? It's okay, buddies. If you stop, I'll just go by. Okay. Do you remember that time on the Tat? I think it was, I don't know where it was, Idaho or Oregon. And we got stuck behind that train of cows and they just would not move over. And it went on for miles. Good times, good times. Lake Hill Motors is doing their annual ride today. Or maybe it started, what's today? I have no idea what day it is. I think it's Saturday. Oh, and that's a good sign too that I don't know what day it is. But anyway, this weekend they had their annual Lake Hills Motors ride, and Sam always goes on it. And they were like, dude, why didn't you come down that weekend and ride with us? And I'm like, I didn't know. I'm dumb. I gotta find a way to make Sam know that I didn't know he had a New Mexico route, because he was like, what are you doing? And I said the New Mexico BDR, and now I feel like a traitor. I really would have done his route instead had I known, because I trust Sam implicitly, and he just from the Tat, he just doesn't put you on anything that's too overly dangerous. I mean, there's some rough spots for sure, but I never felt like I was completely in over my head. I didn't do Hurricane Creek on the Tat, and honestly, I don't advise it. It's just because it's near the beginning too. It's like, do you really want to risk screwing your whole trip by doing Hurricane Creek? It's gorgeous, and it's kind of fun in a type 2 fun kind of way, but it's not easy. I just saw a guy on the Tat Facebook page, and he's like, well, my trip's over. He fractured a toe. He fell like 4 times on Hurricane Creek, and he's like, I'm an experienced rider. I've been riding since I was 16. I don't know how old he was, and he's just like, dudes, it was really hard. It was wet that day, and that makes it impossible. It was pretty wet the day me and Johnny Powell went on it too, and it's just not worth it, if you ask me. If you have if your testosterone is over a certain limit, then you're probably going to do it anyway, but my advice is don't do it. And then there's Whit Road, which, you know, that's fine. Nerve-wracking, but fine. And then there's War Loop, which is very rough, but, you know, if you're slow and careful, it's fine too. And nothing else sticks out as being especially crazy. I mean, the passes, of course. Overpass. That's a pass I will never do again, probably, because it was extremely difficult for me, and it was scary. It was scary. It really was just one section that couldn't have been more than a mile long or something, of those loose shale rocks that were just not good. But I guess if that's the only way you can see that view, so you don't want to be blasting down this. That sand, that would have taken me out if I was going faster. I don't know, that view at the top, oh, unbelievable. Okay. That lock scared me for a second. I had really planned on hanging out at the weed store for some coffee and maybe even to upload the Substack, and so I didn't rig up the that mattered. I didn't rig up the 360 camera or anything. I don't think you guys care about the 360 camera, do you? It sure is pretty up here, but this road is a rocky mess. Crave the dirt, complain about the dirt. Repeat. Judgment. Oh. 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 Oy. Good morning. I know you can't see the steepness. Take my word for it. Wow, that reminds me. I had bought a inclinometer. It was just a cheap, like I had one on my phone and that never could work because it just didn't work. You had to level it each time somewhere level, and it just wasn't happening. And plus now I don't have a phone mounted, so I just bought a, it was like a level sort of, but it was curved piece of glass or plastic, but like the thing you see in a level, and you could mount it on your handlebars and then level it, and then it would just show you mechanically, so to speak, where you're at. And I put it on the bike, and I was super psyched to have a way to show you steepness, but unfortunately it only went to 15 degrees. And 15 degrees is a little steep, I guess, but it's not like when I would want to show you, it would be more than that, and it would say 15 because that's all it went. So I took it off the bike. But I thought it was a good idea. But no dice. Didn't work. Oh, dudes. Who needs coffee? Wow. I'm not saying wow like I think it's over, because I don't. But wow. This was giving Oregon vibes. Woo! Imagine if that truck had locked the gate this morning. I mean, that would really change my day. That would become my day. I do have a day to spare now since I screwed the pooch. But in hindsight, it's kind of good. Because if I had camped on the Guadalupe Rim where I wanted to, it really, you know, it would only taken me like, I don't know, 5 hours to get to Weed or something. And that's, I don't know, that's not quite enough for a day, if you ask me. Okay, I think I go this way. How can there be so many rocks? Dudes. I'm getting marginally better at doing stuff while standing, like changing gears and braking and pulling the clutch in and stuff like that. There's another one. There's another one. Those are deer. Are those deer? Yeah, those are deer. Good job. It's because my parents didn't really know that kind of stuff. Or you know, they didn't have that as an interest. And so my kids don't know this stuff either. That's a shame. Whoa, whoa. Okay, I'd be shooting the inclinometer right now. Oh. Oi. Is it cultural appropriation to say oi? Is that frowned upon? Or is that okay? My Jewish friends, comment and let me know if it's okay. I feel like it is. Because it's just kind of part of American English now. I don't think I'm out of this section, but this section is very pretty. And the wildlife, I mean, I've seen just a zillion different animals, and the birds were all swooping. A grouse flew like right across. I wish I had gotten that on video because it was cool. Yeah, Lincoln National Forest. It's got it going on. Johnny Powell also said he got a bike packing tent with the smaller poles. And I'm interested. I don't know if he's used it yet. I'm interested to see what he thinks of it. Because those look cool. They're so expensive, but they look cool. And I was noticing last night my hole's getting my hole's getting some more tents in it. That sounds uncomfortable. My tent is getting some more little tiny holes in the mesh. I don't know what it's from. It's probably just from rubbing in the bag on these insane roads. But I'm gonna be due another one, sometime if I keep doing this. And I'm interested in those. Again, the Around the World Paul video, he had one that was just so tiny, and his tent was tiny too. I mean, I can't use the right words for what I mean. His sleeping bag was tiny. And I think it was a quilt, maybe. Anyway, my point is, with those bike packing tents, they use the smaller pole size, which is good for packing, but I wonder if it's a pain in the ass to put together. Because does it mean you just have more sections that you gotta slot together? I mean, we're talking 2 minutes here, but I don't know why, but all that stuff matters to me. If I can have my pole set up in 3 minutes instead of 4 minutes, I want the 3 minutes. But maybe it's worth having the smaller pack for the minute. I don't know. I'd like to take a trip down to the Camp Nerd store. I think they're in Raleigh, maybe. Excuse me. Something's going on here. And they have a physical store with all the stuff. And I wonder if they let you mess with the stuff, set it up. Or maybe REI has bike packing tents. I'm sure they do. I really like Big Agnes just because that's what I have and it's worked well for me. But man, that stuff is not at all cheap. Beware the judgment of cows. It's a weird animal. I really think we're in a computer simulation, possibly. It's seeming more and more likely. I know I've talked about this book series before, but I think it was called Riverworld, science fiction sort of series of books that I read a million years ago. And again, I know I've talked about this at some point, but the premise is everyone comes back to life at the same time in Riverworld, and certain things are provided for everyone. Like there are these, now I can't remember the details, but there are these food stations or something. I really can't remember. I need to reread those books maybe. I wonder if they hold up. But anyway, God. Anyway, it's just clever ways everything was provided for the humans that were there. And the premise was cool because Jesus and Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, were hanging out. I might be making that up, but stuff like that, because everyone was there at the same time. Anyway, my point is, I really do think this might be a computer simulation, because it's just there's stuff on the earth, like a cow, which is basically it's a food urn, It's just weird. that doesn't make any sense. I'm not making any sense. But I'm just saying life is weird. I wasn't too convincing. I don't have my philosophy down on this yet. I'll have to mull it over some more. Because the other theory, the Big Bang Theory, it's just as weird. It's just as weird. It might even be weirder. I mean, everything in the universe in a little pinpoint that exploded. That's some crazy shit right there, man. That's way harder to believe than a computer simulation. I would believe a computer simulation. But because of the algorithms in the computer simulation, that's what I would believe. Because that's how it's set up. The honest truth is, I just don't know, and I don't know if it's worth caring. It's fun to think about. But either way, what we know is we're here for 80 or so years, 90 years tops, maybe much shorter. And really, that's all we need to know. Do what you want to do, and use your time wisely. It doesn't matter why we're here. Now, honestly, it doesn't matter if you use your time wisely either. If you don't want to, that's cool. You're not going to lose demerits. I don't know. Maybe I should have spent most of my life smoking pot and playing video games. I don't know. There's still time for that. When I have my uncle whatever his name glasses on from The Sopranos, that might be what I'm doing. Sure doesn't suck.
Hey, please like this video if you liked this video, and if you'd like to see more, hit that subscribe button and the alert bell. Also, if you're interested, there are links to gear lists and goofy t-shirts in the description. Thanks a ton for watching.